Hot breath. Yes. Yeah, I muted the TV, and then we'll be the entertainment.
Okay.
So this is great.
And how long you want?
How much time do you have? I mean, I've done up to an hour. I can do 30 minutes. It's really whatever you feel.
What is it, 4 now?
Yeah, 4:30.
4:30.
Cool. Yeah, and that's this is our water sponsor. This is Fontis. This is Georgia spring water from the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we're trying to be professional for you here.
Oh, we're going already?
Oh, we're on.
Oh, we're already on?
We don't have much time. We got to go. Got to catch you.
I love that everybody saw the backstage, how this high operation operates.
You know the hustle, though. I mean, you've been doing comedy almost 40 years.
Now they're going to have a timer on me. They're going to he agreed to 45 minutes. I think they're at 40 right now. Now we know we have 5 minutes left. I've never done a show like that where actually the sitting down was even me saying, is it all right if we're here? All that was on?
No, whenever we sat down is when I hit it and we started going.
All right. He's good.
Hey, I've been doing this. I have over almost 160 episodes now.
Wow.
So we've been doing this a couple years. I've been doing comedy.
I was impressed by me doing The View 5 times, and now I'm
performing for 4
I don't even know if they've been.
presidents.
I don't know if they've been on that long. 160 episodes. That's awesome.
What's more impressive, The View or all the presidents you performed for?
Yeah, actually, we're doing this the day that George Bush he was in the audience when I performed for all the presidents.
Wow.
Yeah, and Barbara Bush was there, and I was so tempted to talk about her pearl necklace, but it was not going to come across.
From the Lovemaster?
I was once in my life, I refrained, I zipped my lip. But I thought, because, I've dealt with hecklers before and bad audiences, but never securities. You know, I mean,
Secret Service.
Secret Service would have jumped on me.
You just disappear in those kind of situations.
Disappear. Well, I'm glad I didn't do it. But anyway, it's great to do. We've got Ravens fans over here. Are the Ravens playing the Falcons this weekend?
I have
or something?
no idea.
I see a lot of Ravens people.
I'm not
walking
too
around.
hip on to the football anymore.
Oh no.
No.
I have to be. I host a sports radio show on Sirius XM now.
What?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I have too many things on my resume already. It's very confusing to people.
That's what's so inspiring, I think, about your career, especially for comedians, because you probably don't know, but this podcast is all about comedy mastery, and
Oh wow.
it's a lot of comedians listen or fans of comedy that love the how I built this approach to the craft.
Interesting. Yeah.
So what's cool about learning about you is that you've been doing almost 40 years, and you're showing comedians that there's way more than just sticking to stand-up.
That's actually what I mentor a lot of comics. I don't know if you knew that. It's not my bio, but
Kenny Loggins' son was one of them.
he now tours with me, and he runs my company. And he told me when I was touring with Kenny Loggins. Actually, I was in my 20s, and so exciting. I went from little comedy clubs to arenas and stadiums and Broadway, and it was and he was a little 6-7-year-old kid going, "I want to be a comedian." He tail around. I never saw him again in his adult life. And then Kenny played a concert at my studio. I have production studios, and Kenny was there, and he says, "You remember my son Cody?" I go, "Yeah, he always wanted to be a comic." He goes, "Well, he's now going to be a comedian." At 36 years old, he decided he's going to do comedy, and he shows up at my place. He's 6'9". I said, "Well, there's a bit right there." When I'm coaching people, I say you've got to talk about what you know, and I said write material about being Kenny Loggins' son because he wanted to avoid it, and I said, there's only 6 people on the planet that could do that material. Your 5 siblings and you.
Yeah.
So no one else can do that material about being Kenny Loggins' son, and it's really unique. And also 6'9". From Brad Garrett, that's about it. So he's good for the 6'9" material.
That's one of my favorite quotes is no one can steal you.
No, yeah, that's why I went through a period of time in comedy where I just thought it was about making people laugh and it was about the jokes. And when it's not organic, A, people can smell it, and B, you end up it becomes hacky, or it's copied or even stolen.
Because you'd steal some material back in the day, right? Or
Yeah.
you'd borrow, or
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
but that was almost the thing back then, though. I guess
to
with
get
the
your
boom.
stage time, you
Yeah.
would do that, and I see it now, and I don't get too judgmental about it because I understand it, because you're getting your sea legs and stuff. But then I just hit this point, probably in the mid '90s, where nothing that comes out of my mouth is not experiential.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? That way, even if someone disagrees with my opinion, which happens a lot in life, they can't disappear. They can't disagree with my experience. They can say, "That's not right." No, this happened, and you can have your opinion on what my experience is or the delivery or whatever it is, but you can't deny someone's experience.
So you started in the early '80s, like junior year of high school.
Yeah.
So it took you.
Well, you really did your research.
How
How did you know that?
You're the Love Master. We gotta know.
I mean, the Love Master. I didn't know that was included in there.
It was called Stars.
Do you know the people that have? Oh my God, you're really. I'm getting a restraining order. This is a little creepy right now. Wow, no one knows that. That's some deep research. That's research that goes beyond when internet was around. I mean, this is when I was putting pamphlets on phone poles to promote.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was a whole. I was the first one with a fan list. I put out postcards, and I would mail them. My schedule and events and things like that, and that's how I developed a following. But I had people opening for me that wanted stage time. I started headlining early because I did impressions. That was the other one that's not organic. It wasn't, but it got me to headliner fast.
Gotcha.
So I did a lot of impressions, and I hardly do. I do two or three now, but different people would open for me, like Dave Chappelle when he was 14.
What?
Yeah, I was his first headliner that he worked with. Judd Apatow. He would make me little mixtapes. I still have the mixtapes, so he could, kiss my ass to open for me in San Bernardino.
What?
And, oh yeah, it's a Whitney Cummings used to tour with me and sell my merchandise. I have the honor of she mentioned me on a podcast, on Rogan's podcast, and said I'm the only guy that's never hit on her. The only headliners ever. I was pretty proud of that. I guess I was like, hey Whitney, not that I wouldn't want to. I just was married at the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of people are on that list, and people I've mentored. There's a number of them. I have them open for me, and I work on their act with them, and and allow them. It's kind of like microwaving a career, because you're going from 1 o'clock in the morning, bringer shows, stand in line, to now you're in front of A rooms in front of great sold out adult audiences. So it's a great training ground, and sometimes people are not ready for it.
Yeah, and bombing is a big part of that. So, what is... I always ask comedians on here, like, their epic booze story, or, like, one of the most unforgettable bombs they've ever had.
That I've ever had?
Well, it's almost 40 years. I know it's a lot to think of.
One always stands out is I was working this... This is back when comedy, they would put it anywhere. And this guy, it was called Mitchell's Comedy Club, Joe Donato, and he made a club out of a garage. And he, painted the windows. So you could see it was a garage door. You'd see he had a double garage, and he painted over the windows, and he made a comedy club in Palmyra, New Jersey, right across the river. And I was having a really rough time because he would open up the show with really filthy premise. He sets the show up with I think his closing joke was, so I came all over the curtains. All right, here's your headline.
Yeah, right.
So, and I was going, oh my God. And so when that sets the precedent,
of course,
of the audience to what to expect, if you're not, tripling, my dog came on the curtains or whatever it is, if you're not upping the stakes on that he set the bar. So I wasn't, and I wasn't going well. And then I felt this presence. It was very strange, and the audience was laughing when I wasn't telling a joke. I was like, something's going on, and I see this thing on the corner of my eye. And I look, it's a guy humping me. He's dry humping me like a dog on a leg. He's going like this, and he had this face on him, like he was fully into it, and I went, and it's the only time I've ever walked off stage. Oh, we're talking. I counted. I'm over 10,000 shows now, at least, and I think it's the only time I ever walked off.
Did you say anything, or you literally just like
I just went,
walked?
oh, that's it. You know, it was just one of those. It's a full-on disrespect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just felt so violated, and so I'd say that's probably the worst situation I've ever had.
How long into the set was it?
It was pretty short. It
was pretty into the
yeah.
show.
And I don't even know how he creeped up behind me. He's a total creeper. He just got around and started.
Was that
I
during?
still have the visual of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I got his card. He's my Facebook friend now.
Of course, yeah.
No.
He's an engaged follower.
And,
That's what we're looking for now.
I love him to look me up if he's by chance watching your show right now. I'd love to have a rendezvous.
If that was even a club anymore. Was that
No,
during the
it's
boom?
long gone. Yeah, that was the 80s. There was a big boom going on.
What was the boom like? It almost
remember-
sounds like a cocaine-fueled just free-for-all.
Oh, it was. We got paid in white or green. that's you want white or green, and I went white. You know.
Oh, really?
A number of times. Sure.
Wow.
The guy in Erie, Pittsburgh. I could tell you all the club owners that were heavy into it, and did my. There's people over here. I don't know if I can talk about this.
Yeah, this is a podcast. We're doing a comment. It's called Hot Breath, if you'd like to Google it. Or tag us if you post it on social media while you're behind the scenes.
I might say something objectionable.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, enjoy. Thanks for hanging out.
The lobby is now R-rated.
This is
R-rated.
This is now a live podcast, Craig.
This is fantastic. This is fantastic.
So we were talking about the comedy boom. And
yeah, so they would. I remember my first freebasing. Whoa. The guy said, "I'm going to pay you." I didn't even know what freebasing was, and then it turned into crack. But it was called freebase. He shows up with a blowtorch in my hotel room and a big mirror, and I'm going, "What am I doing?" And I was just following the path of Richard Pryor, I guess, in every single way. But yeah, it was. I remember with Rosie O'Donnell and I started together. We were like teenagers, and we were part of this improv group. And I remember us literally counting the comedians who were in the business. You could count them, like list them, because that's how few there were. And now there's tens of thousands of comedians who claim they are. But we, at one time, were going, oh, yeah, what about it? Oh, yeah. We made a list of all the comics. And I used to book the comedians as well. Like Eddie Murphy, you know, I had a one-nighter, came down for $100 from $150, I think he was, from New York. And they'd all come down to Philly, and I had this room. And, yeah, it was a really transitional time into where we are today with comedy. But, you know, we put our time in.
do you think we're at a boom again?
I can't tell. Truthfully, I've stepped so far out of the business from headlining where it's rare when I even see who's up and coming, or I don't watch. And I also made a decision years ago, so I wouldn't be accused of theft. I don't watch anyone.
Yeah, okay.
I watch the people opening for me to see if they step on any premises or whatever it is, and then. And it's a tough aspect of it, because the one time I did stop in, my friend books this 5 Threads. It's in my neighborhood. I said, okay, it's right down the street from me. And I went and I saw these up and coming comics, and I was really fascinated. You know, you can see the passion and the hunger. You know, and I don't have that. I have the hunger of making money because I have 4 kids, and I know this is what I do well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm in. I do my thing. I don't hang anymore afterwards. There's no waitresses. That's why I retired. I retired at one point.
Yeah, for like 9 months, right?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, of course you knew. I was going to say, did you know? No. So, yeah, I retired. Mm-hmm. And what brought me back really was that I didn't have a retirement plan.
Right.
And everybody, like D.L. Hughley's a buddy, and he goes, oh, you'll be back. Because he thinks it's because he's still hungry. He thinks I'm back because of the ego. My ego's done. Mm-hmm. I don't have that drive anymore. I'm not doing it to get attention. I'm not doing it for love or what I thought was love or waitresses' phone numbers or any of that stuff. That's not why I do it. I do it now because I do like to share the gift that I've been given and developed, and even pass that on and be of service to other comics. So if I find one, I found one that night who I thought, oh my God, I got a discovery here. And I talked to her afterwards, and her name is Zara Mizrahi, and she really had that. You know, I really do think that I do have this could pick the stars.
What is that?
Yeah, well, I'll get to that in a second.
Great.
So I said to her, I talked to her afterwards, and she even had that off stage.
Okay.
She even had that, and I'm like, wow. And then I said, I thought I had a discovery. I was going to sign her. I don't even have a company to sign her. And then she tells me she's with one of the top managements, so someone else has already found her.
Right.
But now, she's opening for me next week, and we become friends. She was on my podcast, and wow, what a talent! And she has it, and the it factors are absolutely knows who she is, even at a young age. She is and confident in that, and people smell that. The second she walks on stage, they know that this is someone that has a definitive character that is already developed at a young age. And some people have that, and some it takes them years. It took me years to develop that character of what I am on stage and off. So I tell people all the time, the most important thing is your off-stage work, is working on self and self-discovery, self-evolution. If you can get that down, I've done shows, but it's not only that, it's the promotion of the shows. It's doing things like this, and you have to adapt to. I mean, here I am literally, last week I'm on a national television show, and here I am literally in a hotel lobby before I do my 3 shows tonight in Atlanta with a guy I met last night for a couple minutes. And it's like, okay, you have to adjust, but it's only me who's doing that. It's not this joke teller that's doing that. Like I know when I started in a business, and a lot of comics are this way, it's like, set me up for the joke, and you can see in their eyes that they know it's coming, or they're searching for it or forcing it, and that is, I'd say, take a different direction from that. It's not about the joke writing. The jokes come out of the situations. It comes out of who you are in those situations. So if we have a funny moment, if I've ever made you laugh, or anybody here, if I ever made you laugh, it was just completely organic response, probably never even said before, to the situation. And that's me doing that. That's not the joke teller or comedian doing that. So that takes, it takes life growth, and certain people have it and some don't. And that's what I saw in her, and I see it with some others too. Once in a while I'll pop in or see someone, or someone sends me, a tape, and that's rare. I don't even like to do that, but I don't want to be influenced either. And it can happen. Happens to the best of us. So if I remove myself from it, now I'm only influenced by a quarterback or wide receiver. I watch a lot of football now. Now that I have my sports podcast. So I've got a good quick release now.
Yeah, I'll absorb people's voice. Like if I watch too much, even if I watch like too much of a Dave Attell, I'll like just somehow in the back of my mind start talking like him. It's very
and you
bizarre.
connect with his rhythm, so then it becomes your rhythm as well, because you like that style. You might not like my style or someone else. You might respect it or say, "Oh, that does," but but the ones that you can really kind of connect with. Those, you get, and you can see sometimes where people develop their comedy. It's even regional. If there's like 2 or 3 people in that region that have a certain cadence and a style, you'll see a lot of the open micers kind of, adapt that style or adopt that style. And it's, it happened in Philadelphia when I was growing up. A lot of people had this, very similar thing, and now it's just. It is me. It's a heightened me that goes on stage. It's a little edgier, a little angrier at times, and times I pull back on that as well. It's a confident smile that's all throughout. Because, yeah, I mean, I know that it works. The next thing that's coming, I know that it works, so it has like a wry smile attached to it, and people like confidence. I think they're in the audience. It's not like watching a rock band where they go, man, he sweated. With comics, we got him. It's a whole different audience because they don't want to see you sweat. They'll see you sweat from hard work, but they don't want to see you sweat from nerves. They do not want. They want to see you are absolutely in control.
And you said smile throughout is almost like body language is involved. Like what? Because that's something. Finding your voice is one thing comics struggle with, and also the confidence in the body language. Like, what kind of tips do you have in that direction?
Well, again, it's who you are in the world. I mean, there's some things I could still work on, like body language. I remember I went to the Tony Robbins. You know who that is?
Yeah.
And he's an old friend. He invited me. I went to this big, tens of thousands of people, and it was unbelievable. This guy's got it down. You just dance the whole damn time. It's like a DJ at a rave. Hey, okay,
you can do it.
I guess I'm getting better. I'm positive, but I did walk out of there with a. I've never been able to. This you never could have researched. I've never said it before. I have never brought myself to any situation unless I do something like that with great posture. There's always, and I think it's kind of the reason I never really made it to the top, is there's always this little element of me that doesn't want to be seen. I know it sounds strange for a comic that's been in front of so many people, but there's almost an element that still wants to be able to be in my hotel room all day today, vegging out or just be by myself and have solitude and not expose myself. So I don't really have the greatest body language in the world. Even here, I'm slumping. A lot of people like you have pretty good posture, but I don't. Now, see, I think something was beaten into me when I was a kid. Is you don't show yourself. You don't wipe that smile off your face. A lot of those messages were part of who do you think you are? I'll knock the block off your shoulder. Whatever it is, it's like just. Don't take it all the way with your confidence, because then you're cocky. So I don't have great body language because of it. But no, when I do Tony Robbins for like 2 weeks, I'll walk around, hey, what's up?
Right, and then the light will slowly start to dim.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like the evolutionary chart. I go back to like the third guy.
Yeah,
who's got bad posture. And yeah, it's just one of those things. It's not like I think about it all the time, or I could obviously switch it up if I wanted to. But part of me, I like humility too. That's one of the problems, and not to be political, it's one of the problems I have with Donald Trump. Now, I can also speak from experience, so nobody gets mad at my opinion. I've experienced him in real life, real life, like it's a fake life.
Donald, but you've met Donald?
Oh yeah, I've hung out with him, and
is that a green or white situation as well?
It's a situation where I literally, no, there was no coke involved. No money either. Well,
okay.
And actually, it was the first time I met him, it was Tony Robbins. And I was like, Tony, why did you have that guy? Because I'll never forget it. There's a lot of people speaking, and they were talking about rejuvenation and all these R words. And he walks right out and he goes, I have an R word, revenge. Whoa. And I remember going, wow, that's your motivation. I said, Tony, why do you have him? And I think, Tony's like, he's because he makes a lot of money, or whatever it was, whatever the answer was. I remember thinking, that's not who you are, Tony. Mm-hmm. So I was a little taken aback by it, but that he would have Donald Trump as one of his speakers. Again, this is before politics, so take it away with you liberal, you Hollywood liberal. Just take the label away for a moment if you are bothered by this. This is my experience. Mm-hmm. So my experience is he brags about himself all the time. And it ends up, turns into lies, and it turns into boasting. And these are all the things I've been taught to go the opposite way of that, which is incongruous with the business that I'm in, because I'm supposed to promote myself.
Exactly.
So I'd rather you call me a master than me call me a master, or you saying I saw your show last night and this is what the show was. I'd much rather that. Mm-hmm. I'd prefer that 100% than me saying, hey, I'm great. I can't even imagine the words coming out of my mouth, in that way that he does it. And the bottom line is, vote for him or not, I don't resonate with that type of person. And yet many of my peers made it like that.
That mindset.
It's the mindset of tunnel vision. I'm gonna just keep going. I don't care who I hurt, who I offend. I'm gonna use people along the way. Again, you see his track record, and I don't want to name comics, but there are comics that have done that I grew up in the business with. And people ask me, like, what do they have in common, the ones who make it? That's what they have in common. It's an undying belief in themselves. And they go about life where it's an arrogance that it's not empathic, it's not compassionate, it's just about them and feeding that ego that is so gigantic. And if that's what it takes to make it, I don't want to make it. I'm putting "make it" in quotes, obviously. I've done
subjective.
Well. Yeah, it is subjective.
Right.
Other people see my career and they go, "Oh my God, are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
You know. But then there's others that go, "Who the hell are you?" They have no idea who I am. You know. So, yeah, I never went to the top. Didn't get my own sitcom when everyone else was. I won awards, but I didn't take it further. And if I'm gonna like be objective about it, I do think that's the biggest part of it. Is I look at them. I'll call them the Trump types.
Okay.
And I don't want what they have. I don't. If money leads to what I see as misery, what I see as a lack of character, what I see as false, non-organic, I don't want any part of that. I want the life that I now have, which is really awesome. You know what I've created.
Is it easier to look back at that? Because like in the moment, it's like
yeah.
you're voted Comedian of the Year,
Yeah.
and they're giving away sitcoms like they're mints.
And Comedian of the Year, by the way, was the loneliest night of my life.
Really?
Loneliest night of my life. It was another ha-ha moment where I went, oh, so here I thought this would be the answer. So all of those things that motivate me, oh, that'll be the answer. If I get that, then it will lead to this. Mm-hmm. And all of those that's that I got that were the goal, if you will, not one of them was fulfilling. Not one of them. Oh. Including Comedian American Comedy Awards. You know, the previous winners were Jerry Seinfeld and Ellen DeGeneres and Jeff Foxworthy. I'm going, hey, there's a sitcom. I'm going to do a sitcom about a gay redneck in a show about nothing, you know, or something. You know, I'm bound to have, and I did have offers and things like that. But it was the loneliest night of my life because then you become the target. And comedians, you don't want to be on their bad side because they're the smartest people on the planet.
I agree.
So therefore, if the comedians are the smartest, they also have the smartest heckles, the smartest criticism.
Right.
You know, so now it was that night I was alone in a limo. I'm going, where do I go now? I had my trophy with me. And I went to a place I don't even go. It was a Comedy Store. And I walked in with my trophy and they were like laughing at me. Wow. There was nobody coming. I'm going, hey, man, come here. I've never been recognized in an airport. Where are you, Comedian American Comedy Awards? All these things that I thought would happen. That would open doors. If anything, it closed more doors. You know, first of all, I wasn't ready. And I should win today.
Okay, there it is.
I'd be ready for anything today, you know, because I know who I am, and I don't need those things to fulfill me. And yeah, that's the irony is now that I'm this age and this much time under the belt, and they're all looking for the new thing. There's no way I'd win one of those awards.
But it's so bittersweet in that in the moment you're like, oh, this is a low, and now you can look back and be like, no, that was a good lesson.
It was, yeah,
that I can now grow from. But like it, you know, I'm almost 9 years into the game, and I can look and be like, oh, I want to be on Conan or do Colbert, like have a Netflix special.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I've heard this from other comics too. It's like almost the vanity goals end up just being almost a mirage.
Yeah, they are. And that's vanity goals. I guess that's what they are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could consider them. If you were working at a corporation, you could say, oh, I've advanced to vice president and then president. You could look at it as that. Mm-hmm. But it's not as standardized as an office situation or any other job for that matter. And you don't know what's coming around the corner. I have no idea. You know, I just keep showing up. I took a sports show on Sirius XM, and I just started a podcast where I do it like I'll interview my accountant. I have no idea where these things are going. I just try to keep it simple and what's, again, I use the word organic. It's like, what is truly the message from underneath, from deep underneath? now that all those layers have been peeled away, those insecurities and those fears and those difficult times that I went through in real life as opposed to comedy, that's the real life stuff is really horrific, some of it, but I'm through it. I got through, I'm a survivor, and here I am. Now who am I in the world? I like to be of service to people now. I like to be loving. I like to connect. And these are the things that move me into the next direction. That usually does not mean fame, though.
So for younger comics listening, maybe a shortcut based on your career and lessons you've learned is to almost take a self-reflection on what you personally want instead of maybe what other people are getting.
Not more of what you want, of who you are.
Who you are, okay.
Who are you? Like if you if we're all you talk about human potential, the word potency is in there. So that means we all have a potency that wants to emerge, it wants to fulfill itself. So if you keep tamping that down through whatever methodologies you have, it could be through cocaine, like it was for me, or it could be through something that's not in integrity, because what wants to come out is filled with integrity, and it's filled with you, and it's filled with this great essence of light. So by the way, fear of other comics being judgmental will also prevent you from allowing that light to shine because we're so dark. So misery loves company, and that's another reason I don't really hang out with comics. It's just this misery fest of people. There's this thing they have. I remember my friend going to it called Sit and Spin, and I don't really know what it is. It's contempt prior to investigation, but it sounds like just people just spitting out their resentments, and it, in a funny way. But I think that the audiences can also smell it if you're still in it. If you see what I'm saying, if you're still in that confusion and in that anger and in that rage, that's and the only way you're getting out is this dark act that doesn't have much light to it, and you're just and other people are also dark are responding to it, which you could do well with it. But I think people realize at the end of the day that you have some work to do. And that's this biggest suggestion is do that work, however you do it. In that self-discovery world, a lot of comics are too cynical to go to a Tony Robbins, or they would hear me talking right now, even if I talk spiritual, there's that immediate reaction. I had a guy on my podcast, my old roommate, who's an atheist. And I said, so what do you believe in? And he said, well, I believe you'd be good to people. You'd be kind to people. I said, what if that's your God? It's just a label, If being good to people, I said, that's more spiritual than a lot of religious people that I know. Oh, you're being good to people? Oh, you're telling the truth? That's great. So you're a spiritual human being. That's what I told him. I think I talked him into it.
You converted him.
Spiritual practice, because that's what he practices, and he likes to give laughs and joy to people. I said, that's another great thing. It's spiritual in nature. People think you need to sit in a rock in Sedona in a lotus position to get spirituality. We are the spirit that we are allowing it to be freed, if you will. Like we jail it up, with the cynicism, sarcasm, negativity, and all of that, knocking people down. All of that is preventing us from really allowing that blossoming, if you will. We're not watering the plant.
A frustrating part in doing stand-up, and there is like a spiritual connection with the audience, in that if you aren't in the best mood, sometimes your jokes don't hit as hard because they can feel kind of the subversion in the emotion behind your material. But sometimes you have a joke that's you've been working it out and doing it, and it's working, and you're killing it, and all of a sudden you almost lose the freshness of it. It becomes a little stale, and then you stop delivering it as excitingly, and then it almost stops working.
I've had that happen many times. Yeah.
How do you? Lovemaster. How long have you been doing Lovemaster?
Lovemaster's a long, long time, for decades, and it made my career because people could remember that rather than my name. A lot of people also haven't made it because They just don't have the right name.
Oh yeah, because you turned into a whole brand, and it's been a book and a movie.
Is a thing, and branding is a big thing. And there was a guy, Tony Monica, tiny little club called Rooster T. Feathers. It was just a part of my act. I developed that actually on tour with Kenny Loggins. And I developed not on stage. I developed it because I had like summer camp. I was touring with people. You tour with comics and start doing the Lovemaster, they'll tear you apart. There's no way a comic is going to go, great idea. No, do a character and tell dick jokes. There's not a comic alive that would approve of that. So I was with civilians, I called them, and, I'm touring with civilians and made them laugh. And I started doing my act, and Tony Monica says, you should bill yourself as the Lovemaster. I started doing that, and it's a very small part of my act, but that's what people come for. It's like a best of. It's like,
right.
But the advantage is over like Springsteen has to do Born to Run. He can't change the lyrics. He can't do Baby, I'm born to trot, I'm born to jog.
Right.
He's got to do Born to Run. People sing along with him. Whereas I can change all the lyrics to the Lovemaster and keep the character. I've actually changed them up a little bit to update them too. It comes from I let people know there's a lot more revealing that goes on stage anyway. On even why I do comedy, those stories are in there. And now I talk about the Lovemaster is my answer to girls who would all use the F word with me. Friend. I was always the friend. I was a little geeky guy, and they always liked the badasses. I'm like, oh, give the geek a chance, baby. And he's that down, dirty, bad guy that they always ended up with. And I give them that guy, and it's crazy how some people connect with it. I have a few people say it's awful, they hate that. Say, worst part of your act. Yeah, fine. It's not, everybody's got their hits, and then some people like the other side of the album. What's the comparable term for that now? The B-side.
The B-side is all I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
The deleted scenes.
I don't know. But
the deep cuts.
I've got these other cuts that I really enjoy right now, but they're not the best of, and it's not. People aren't coming to see. Hey, how come you didn't? Well, actually, they do that sometimes. They'll say, "Why didn't you do this bit?" or "Why didn't you do that?"
You must have probably had, like, out on the road over the years doing Lovemaster, you probably had some women. Like, you probably had you maybe, like, had some groupies you actually played Lovemaster the entire night with. Would you?
I had one. I did do that, yeah. Unfortunately, I came out of character, and I ended sooner than I wanted to. I was like, yeah, baby. And I was like, oh, that was Craig, sorry. Can we have I'm always good the second time.
Hilarious.
Yeah. I had a crazy sex story here in Atlanta. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't rock and roll-ish. But there were times, again, they were feeding this idea that I had of fame, is that's what you're supposed to do. And I think that's what happens just in society, period. It's a motivator for athletes, for actors, for singers, for producers. A lot of the producers are like losery, nerdy guys.
The abuse of power.
And they, like a Harvey Weinstein. I mean, it's a perfect example of this guy, couldn't get laid, but he became famous and powerful, and it's an aphrodisiac for people. But it's the concept that needs to be examined and then hence dropped. It's predatory.
But what's the Atlanta story?
You really want to hear it?
We want to hear it.
Well, it's really dirty.
Yeah, we've got time.
And it's okay.
We're at 36 minutes right now.
But I mean, you go there with this? I thought it was like a mentor-y type of show.
No, I mean, this
will mentor you into Demented.
But this is comedy, the good, the bad, and the dirty.
Well, this is the dirty, all right.
Yes.
All right, this is word for word truth, by the way. It sounds like some letter you would send in the Penthouse magazine. But I did tell it on one other podcast. And I never thought I'd tell it where people were, this is good. This is not good for my family man brand. That's for sure. But
it's all authenticity, like we were talking about.
It is authenticity, yes. And that is the most important thing. And it is from my past, and I have learned from it. But I will tell this. Actually, you can just tune out right now. If you don't want to hear something that's debaucherous and predatory, you can just stop. I hopefully you've heard some nice things. And now we're going to go into
Okay, we're at 38. He's stalling until the 45-minute mark now. He's like, if I could just keep filibustering until...
So it was the old Punchline.
Okay.
It was over 20 years ago. And I was with my friend Stanley Ullman. He was one of the guys who would open for me and tour with me. And Stanley is not one of the young up-and-coming comics. He's an older comic that I knew back in the 80s, bald guy. Hasn't been laid since, I think, Carter was in office. I think it was the last time he was laid. But I preface that by saying it comes into the story later. So he's my running mate, if you will, my wingman. And I walk off stage, and there's this beautiful 19-year-old strawberry blonde, shorter young lady. She goes, my friend thinks you're funnier than Jim Carrey, and she's in Playboy. I go, really? I go across the parking lot, and there is this vision. 5'9", blonde, unbelievable, about 19 also. Pulls the Playboy out of the trunk of the car. There she is. It was like a lingerie issue, but she looked great. And I go, hey, you guys want to go back to my hotel? And, oh boy, now we have people walking. This is great.
We're
right
good.
in the middle. Oh, this story is real. So they said, sure, we got to get rid of our boyfriends. I'm going, boyfriends pull up with a gun rack and a pickup truck. And they got rid of them. So I had to rent a car, and Stanley's my running mate. Again, he looks like remember Weebles? Kind of like a Weebles wobble. They all fall down. He's like as short as he is tall. He's like a little heavier. He can take his teeth out. I mean, it's not, anyway, that's my running mate. So we were like little kids looking in the rearview mirror. They made the left. They made the right. They're really following us. Oh, my God, they're following us. So we get back to my suite, and I go into the mini bar, get them drunker. And so I start reading the magazine. I'm like, I'm in a chair like this, and they're sitting over there. And I said, this is very nice. You look awesome without your clothes. And I said, how about a live version? Suddenly she goes, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And she goes, y'all know what queefing is?
Oh, my.
I said, pussy fart? She goes, my pussy's so tight, I can queef jingle bells.
Oh,
so off come the clothes. She has a heart-shaped strawberry pubic situation. And she gets on the ground in a lotus position, or like a yoga position, and out loud, note for note, like I misnoted that just now. She was much better with her vagina than I was with my lips trying to imitate her. The other one starts to get jealous, and she pulls her clothes off, and she also has a strawberry blonde pubic situation in the heart. It's like they called each other up and said, what are you going to go with tonight? And she says, my pussy lips are so loose I can tie them in a knot. So she starts yanking on them, and all of a sudden Stanley goes, she's pissing. She goes, no, I'm not, I'm coming. She's making me come. So the one who's doing the queefing is making her aroused, and she is wetting the entire living room, is soaking. I still think it was urine. Stanley and her, they insist it was her cum. So anyway.
So eloquently put.
Yeah. So the other one's in the second verse. Unbelievable notage. And then she ties these, she's pulling them down. She's like getting them loose, and they're like Bermuda length. She could get into a country club. She's yanking on them. They were like udders. And then she ties them. I said, well, I used to help my mom with packages, and I put my, she ties a knot around my finger. And I said, wow, it's unbelievable. So then I says, oh, it says here to the other one, I said, in your article that you like water. I said, I went in the other room. I filled up the bathtub. And the three of us are standing over her. This glistening naked body goes into the tub like Daryl Hannah from Splash. And I was just looking at her, and she goes, I could do all sorts of things with my pussy. And she goes, point somewhere. And then out of the water, she just rises up, and whoosh, this squirt that came out. She would like fill herself up, and it just those super soakers? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I pointed to Stanley's. I said, how about his forehead? Just boom, right in the forehead. Then she gave him a wet T-shirt contest. It was awesome. It was so funny. Now, understand, I'm not really into the sexual aspect of this, although I am a little bit, but I'm on to the funniest. I always love funny first.
Right.
Stanley's into the sex. I mean, he's a big porn watcher. So we go into the other room, and she's like, this thing is just going wherever I told her, wherever I pointed, that she'd squirt it. So we go in the other room. She gets on the table, a coffee table.
Jeez.
And the three of us, the rest of the three of us are on the couch together, on the couch, just watching her like a stripper. And I'm like, and Stanley turns into like a porn director because he loves porn. He's addicted to porn. And I see him pull it out, and he starts giving directions like a director. He goes, smirk her ass, pull her hair, pull her hair. Then the other one gets up and starts pulling her hair and smacking her, and she starts going down on her, standing up.
Whoa.
And then all of a sudden Stanley goes, I'm out. He
finished.
He finished. And he walks out of the room, and now I'm left with the two of them in the living room. And the only bad end to the story, it's still a good story, is I didn't do anything because I was just starting to date someone.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I thought what I did was more of a director. Like I could have done that.
Oh, so you were like a puppet master.
This is my justification. I was actually going, well, I am in the film business. I just did a film last year. Yeah, I'm more of a director. I'm like, I actually was even doing that with the magazine. I'm going, it says you like water. And I would direct each scene, but I didn't direct the scene with me in it. So I never participated. And I regret it now, not going all the way.
Yeah, I figured that was
because
the
relationship ended with
the girl you were sacrificing for. Act 3.
Yeah. So anyway, I can't believe you got that out of me. But
yes.
I've lost all credibility. I was. Geez, they're laughing at the front desk.
How can you not?
Well, anyway,
That's
I hope
amazing.
so that was one, and I had my times that were just crazy. But now to go back to the spiritual self, all of those times, again, like comedy and those goals that you have, threesomes and craziness and stuff like that. None of those they're worth just a story today. They're not. There wasn't. I didn't grow from them. I didn't have the greatest moments. I remember threesomes. I'm so codependent. I'm going. Oh, if one satisfies me, and then the other one's going to feel left out,
right?
Or not as good about herself, right? She shouldn't feel good that she's having a threesome with me, but still. But so there's that element. I think I'm different than a lot of people, but anyway, it's just who I am, and. So the great moments, the pockets of joy for me are like these in-the-moment moments. Like I had a lot of them are spontaneous, but they come from, my own source. I helped this guy, not helped him, this guy, his whole family are fans. And that's another thing I really like. I have generations now. It's really cool. Like
yeah.
The guy came last night with his Eagle Scout son who's 16.
Whoa.
And the kid really, couldn't believe, Atlanta here and the father and their neighbors. And that's a really great aspect of it. So there's this gang of fans.
We're 45 right now, too.
Okay. All right.
But
right.
I don't want to cut you off. What do you got?
So we're okay.
We're okay.
Yeah, my show's in a half an hour. It's all right. I don't have. This is my prep.
We hit the checkpoint.
I'm getting my voice ready for this. 3 shows. It's the only place I do 3 shows, and I do an hour and a half show.
I know. Jeez. Yeah, your opener does like 7 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So
thanks for being willing to go in overtime here.
Yeah. So this guy, his dad is on the way out, older guy. And I said, can I visit your dad? And they're a wealthy family. The guy kept saying, what can I get you? What do you want? I go, I don't want anything. If I can bring joy to a guy who is definitely a fan, because they've seen me dozens of times, if I can bring joy, he goes, well, he might not know who you are. He didn't know his daughter yesterday. I said, okay. Didn't know what I was getting into. I thought I was going to the hospital, but he was already home with hospice-type care. And I walked in, and the guy lit up. And the guy goes, oh, my God, it's the Lovemaster. He turns to his nurse. This is the greatest comedian. And I made him laugh. I told him dirty jokes because on their way out, they don't care about it. Of course. And I tried out new Lovemaster lines on him. And, man, that was one of the great days of my life was watching this guy light up. He's on the way out. And then I said, hey, listen, my dad's never said happy birthday. He thought I have issues with my parents. Don't speak to me for years. I mean,
about yours.
Yeah,
they never said your mom never said she loves you, and your dad's a cult leader, and all that.
Yeah, and it's just it's a real mess.
She's
so
a belly dancer and all that.
That's the good aspect of my mom. That was actually my great moment with my mom, but but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But, so I said to him, would you be my dad for my birthday? It's coming up. Would you get me a card or call me? And he did. He called from his hospital bed.
Whoa.
And he was about to the next day get a feeding tube put in, which is the end. And he's got his mask on. I put my daughter on, who's another empath. And she's looking at him. She's 4 years old. She goes, she doesn't even know him. She goes, FaceTime. She goes, I love you, Joe. He goes, I love you too, Chloe. She draws him a picture, made him laugh because it looked like a penis. But anyway, and to make that guy happy and his son happy that that's going on just makes my life. And that's not I've played 70,000 people twice. That's way better than that. Because this is true. This is absolutely, there's nothing between us except for like some divineness. And he just passed away a couple days ago. He did die. And I know that I did something good. You know, that I can go with it. It's better than the awards. It's better than the accolades. Mm-hmm. It's just those moments. And my daughter, by the way, when the camera went off, she bawled. She knew the guy was on the way. You know, she just gets it at 4 years old. So if I could pass that on to the kids, and that's what I do now, and those are my great pleasure moments, and usually something to do with my wife or children. My wife just had this great surprise party for me the other day, blew me away, you know, and she found friends that I didn't even know she knew. She had found friends from childhood. I mean, it was crazy when I walked into this. I have a movie theater at this production facility that I own, and
is that Big Shoe?
A really big shoe production,
really big shoe
media, and it was filled with people, and I was absolutely just blown off. I couldn't even speak or walk. My legs were shaking because that was true love, you know.
I think that's important. The important tone to end this on for comics listening is we can get into techniques and like, well, how do you do this or that? But it really is thinking of comedy in terms of the impact you're making on these people. Even if you are like in a bar and there's like 4 people, but those 4 people are there to laugh.
Yeah.
And treating the craft with that sincerity and that hold it to that high standard is just like that.
Well, yeah,
effect.
And you know what it does? It also gets the nerves out of it, because now it's not, you don't have performance anxiety literally like you do in sex. You have that obviously on stage. You have much less of it if you think, I'm just being of service to people. I'm going to hopefully catch a smile and a laugh and a giggle and take them away from what they're going through. Everybody goes through issues in their lives. And I can't tell you the amount of times that's happened with me too. Is like they're going through this or a death, and we were going to cancel because, and they show up, and then you are being of service to them, and that is, you know, George Bush Sr. Died today or yesterday, and that was one of the things about him that was so admirable. He's of service. That was his whole thing, was being of service. You know, you could disagree with his politics all you want, but that's his legacy now. And what a great legacy to have. And comics really don't give themselves credit for that, is that we are healers, you know, we're the doctors, we're the pharmacists, we're the pharmacy, we're delivering this medicine to people. And if you can just clear away the ego and the nerves and the fears and the worries and the doubts and all that stuff and the criticism, if you can put that away and just keep it simple and give them that, it takes you into a whole other space. And then the material happens, and then the style is born out of that, and then who you are on that stage is consistent and have confidence, and then your confidence, it's all rooted, though. It has to be rooted in that. It can't be rooted in a goal that's up here or some idea of what success is. It can't be, or trying to appease people or please people. It can't be that, because if it's based on them, you're going to fail. Because if it's based on someone else's judgment, you're going to fail. Because everyone's out to judge and criticize because they don't want to look at themselves. So if you could just reflect back to them some sort of a goodness, like I was telling my friend was saying, or kindness or love, or you're giving them something that they're missing. And a lot of comedians don't look at it that way. You know, it's a pretty selfish business a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And so if that's some sort of a message that I could get across, along with my queefing story.
I love how that's like the arc of the whole show is like we took it way up here and then we're like, but be selfless and self-aware and that'll then create your
Can you
success.
have an edited version of this? Like you could have an X-rated version and a G.
With over 150 of these, people know what they're getting into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is,
I hope you knew what you were getting into.
Surprises.
They didn't know what they were getting into, a queef story.
Well, as soon I was like, oh, okay, Playboy, it'll be fine. And then you're like, and then she queefs, and I was like, oh, whoa. And then she gets in the bathtub. I was like, oh, wow, this is going.
And did you think about stopping the story?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay, all right.
No, I was gonna press and be like, were you talking like Lovemaster?
I didn't do Lovemaster. Okay. No, I don't think I did. That part I don't remember.
Yeah. This has been great. The fact you're even willing to sit down and do this, not even knowing me, but just being like, oh, a fellow comic, I'm down to support them doing something positive. So
well, hopefully you'll send people over to my podcast, which is actually called Craig Shoemaker, Can I Help You? And it was spawned because I do like helping people. And if this helped you, if this helped anyone out there, then I'm good. If one person says... I'd be happy if one person watched, by the way.
Oh, they will.
No,
people watch.
I'm just kidding. If somebody respond and say, I got this out of that, I now know what to do if I meet a queefer. I mean, whatever it is, however I've helped you.
Yeah.
That's why I do that podcast, and it's real different. I used to do the big radio type thing with the, screens and microphones and big guests, Samuel L. Jackson, all that. And now it's like, I'll interview my accountant I went to kindergarten with, and it's more, how can we help one another? We're on this planet together for a short time. What can we do to support one another? And that's what it's about. So, and hopefully get some laughs as well.
Well, before we get out of here, is there anything else you want the world to know?
Sirius XM every Sunday. It's 8 o'clock Pacific to 11 o'clock. It's PM, and it's called Untied with Craig Shoemaker. You see the shoe thing? There's a lot of shoes involved in CraigShoemaker.com. And follow me on the Twitter. I'm the Lovemaster. Instagram. I just hit 5,000. Very excited, but they still won't verify me. Can't get verified.
Haters.
Are you verified? I will. Yeah. I would hate you if you were verified.
I thought you were empathic.
Not on that area.
Not on the blue check.
Not on the blue check. I got it on the other ones, but I don't have it on Instagram. They turned me down.
Oh,
yeah.
Haters.
But, they're not looking for someone from the past and someone that has this career that's.
But see, that's that vanity goal we were talking about, Craig.
They're looking for the
blue
next
check is the
best
vanity
thing.
goal.
Yeah,
we don't need that.
Well, I only needed to extend my reach. That's the irony. Is only reason I want to be like famous or more people following me is so I can help them or let them know where I'm performing, or I'm a speaker as well. I speak about laughter healing.
The laughinghelps.com is
it's called laughterheals.org.
Laughterheals.org.
Yeah, and it's an organization I was spawned again out of being of service. My friend who was dying, they gave him 3 months to live, and he lived 15 years past that prognosis by adding a lot of laughter to his life and a lot of joy. It gives you reason to live. That's the other thing that comics deny is what we actually are giving to people.
Yes.
Is it's a new look on life, and turn away from all there's so much toxic out there. It's like, let's get together, and you're like my brethren. You're a brother in this world, right?
Yeah.
We're in the same business. And when you reached out to me on Twitter, first thing I noticed is you weren't following me.
Yeah, I just knew you were in Atlanta.
I can't even believe I'm doing this.
Now I'm following you.
You had not followed me.
I'm not active on Twitter at all, though.
But oh, really?
I really don't.
No,
I'm not on
opposite.
Twitter a
now
lot.
I have a restraining order against you. You know too much.
As soon as you said yes, though, I was like research mode. That's what I do.
Oh, you must have.
These interviews, it's like I want people to listen to Hot Breath and know, okay, I could go listen to 10 of their other interviews, or I can go to Hot Breath and get all of them in one.
Wow.
So that's been the goal of all of them.
Well, I've only told that story to one other podcast, so that was it. So
we made it.
And I'm going to cut it at that. Never tell that story again.
Never again, a Hot Breath exclusive.
Yeah.
Well, Craig Shoemaker, thank you so much for being on Hot Breath.
You're welcome. I hope it was enjoyable.
It was great.
Yes.
Thank you, bro. All right. We did it.
Hot Breath.